I'm Douglas Mason, CEO of Naturally Splendid, symbol NSP on the TSX Venture Exchange. Naturally Splendid is a biotechnology and consumer products company focused on the global cannabis and health markets. Naturally Splendid is expanding distribution in this rapidly growing market with products currently in Canada, the USA, South Korea, Germany, and Australia. To view our comprehensive company presentation and for more information, please visit our website at naturallysplendid.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is award-winning investigative reporter Bob Mackin, the publisher of thebreaker.news. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thank you.
The BC government is going to go ahead with its money laundering inquiry. Will it accomplish anything, and will bad guys be put behind bars?
Well, if this follows the example of the Charbonneau Commission inquiry in Quebec, then it will accomplish something. It'll change laws, and it'll bring people to justice. It'll name and shame people. And that's how the NDP have directed it. They're not saying don't look back in the 1990s. You know, the NDP may definitely have some skeletons in its closet, but they're confident that the skeletons in the Liberal closet are bigger and noisier and dirtier. Because the deadline for this for Justice Austin Cullen from the BC Supreme Court, who's been appointed the head of this commission, is May 2021. The election would normally be in May 2021, but the NDP changed that to fall 2021. So it'll be just a few months before the next provincial election. So this could be a big problem for the BC Liberals, especially if some key cabinet ministers and key BC Liberal appointed bureaucrats are called to testify before Justice Cullen. But this, they've been very clear that they put it in the hands of Justice Cullen for him to preside over this, and for him to have power to order witnesses to appear and power to seize documents. So it's going from the political sphere to the judicial sphere, and who knows where it will go, because it's really a case of the evidence will guide the commission.
Could this result in the big players in the money laundering having to fork over money, forfeit things? Could they look at prison time? Or because some inquiries, they just say, yeah, wrong was done, but they don't name names. This one's going to be different?
Well, they're going to be naming names, but they also have to be mindful of any investigations that are ongoing or prosecutions that are ongoing, to be tread carefully in that direction. But if it takes on, as I believe it will, the same type of situation we saw with the Charbonneau Commission, that those who testify will eventually, possibly some of the bad ones, will get a knock on their door, or will be compelled to offer themselves up to prosecutors to help prosecutors to either help catch the bad guys or give themselves up and find a plea bargain. So there's going to be some cases, I believe, that if they do this properly, there will be some who will be facing the music. But the timeline, I think, is a little ambitious, even though they want to get it done before the election. Who knows which direction this will go? The Charbonneau Commission heard almost 300 witnesses. They sat for 261 days over a 4-year period. And that wasn't supposed to go 4 years. This is supposed to go just 2. And the Charbonneau Commission in Quebec looked at private and public sector construction, procurement, and contracts. This is quite broad. This is looking at money laundering in all its aspects here in British Columbia, looking at money laundering through gambling, money laundering through luxury cars, and other luxury items, not just cars, but also the real estate market, which is really the big area here. The Maloney report, which was released last week with the second German report, said that the estimate was for last year $7.4 billion with a B dollars of money laundering in BC, and of that, $5 billion was through real estate money laundering. So this is, I think, going to be watched throughout North America and perhaps even throughout the democratic world, the Commonwealth, because I think it's going to get us closer to the answers we've been looking for of how did this happen, who knew what, and when.
Is there any suspicion that BC officials were accepting money to look the other way?
Well, that's a lot of us have had those questions and have heard the whispers. Haven't had a chance to actually get the last nugget of info in order to show the rest of British Columbia what was actually happening. Maybe this is what's going to happen. Maybe that information is going to now come out into the daylight. Maybe whistleblowers will come forward and others will come forward, and maybe Justice Cullen and the Cullen Commission or Cullen Inquiry will be able to access documents that Cabinet had, and maybe even access legislature documents which are not covered by the Freedom of Information law yet. Maybe they'll be able to put things together and show us how the puzzle actually worked and whose fingers were actually putting the pieces of the puzzle in place, and then show us to which arms those fingers are connected, and so we can have a better understanding of how it all went. The one thing the NDP didn't say is they give us a deadline that Justice Cullen is supposed to turn in his report in May 2021. Didn't say when the first hearings will be, and what kind of form those hearings will take. Obviously, we believe they probably use a courtroom or a hotel conference center, maybe a university meeting room. We don't know where or how it'll be, and if it'll be fully webcast. I believe it would be fully webcast, or if the public will have a chance to actually sit in the room. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. And most importantly, we don't know when it's going to start. Obviously, Justice Cullen will have a chance to hire staff to staff this commission. It won't be just him. He'll have to hire some lawyers and other administrators to set this up. We'll see when it will actually begin. We don't know what the budget is. John Horgan said that, I'm reading between the lines, that essentially Justice Cullen has a bit of a blank check. The Charbonneau Commission cost more than $40 million to get the answers there in Quebec. Maybe that's going to be the same price tag here at the end of the day. But he's really putting it in the hands of Justice Cullen, and same thing with David Eby, saying that there's no one in this province who may not be compellable, that he will have a chance and a choice to pick whoever he wants, who can offer evidence to the inquiry so he can help write his report. So that could mean past cabinet ministers. That could mean people who maybe are already in jail that we don't quite know of. That could mean municipal politicians and bureaucrats. That could mean developers and jewelers and luxury car dealers. It's unlimited. Where this will go is going to be absolutely fascinating. It'll be another piece of British Columbia history before our eyes, allowing us to understand what really went on in the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years. This is going to be a fascinating process to see unfold.
Well, I thought federal legislation said you were supposed to report any transaction over $10,000. I don't think a lot of people were reporting anything.
Well, they may have been, and we just don't know about it. That's been the complaint about FinTrack, the financial tracking agency, which is the agency that's supposed to collect and store the documentation of high cash transactions in those areas where they are regulated, and then take those documents and allow the law enforcement to use them. But that's been one of the big complaints by David Eby, by Peter German, by others, that FinTrack essentially is this black hole that doesn't really tell a story of what it does. It isn't very active as similar agencies are in the United States or in the United Kingdom, and because of court precedents, it doesn't cover those who do handle very big cash transactions. There was a Supreme Court decision on lawyers, that lawyers do not have to report, because of specific client privilege, do not have to report when they handle large cash transactions. They do have the Law Society rules, but that's essentially industry self-regulation. There is no rule here, like there is in the UK or US, that compels lawyers to actually say when they receive big cash transactions. and they don't have to report that to FinTrack. So that's another hole there that could be answered as well within this public inquiry, because they're also going to be looking at the legal trade and accounting as well. I mean, this could possibly take a look at some of the biggest law firms in Vancouver. It could take a look at some of the biggest accounting firms in the world who have offices in Vancouver. This could go in so many different ways. Again, I'm wondering how they can pack it all into 2 years.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, Recycling Trade Publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, do you have a chance to become a neighbor of Meng Wanzhou, the woman accused in the U.S. of dirty deeds connected to Huawei phones?
Yeah, well, I looked in my sofa and cashed in some of my bottles and cans last weekend, and I didn't have enough to buy the house next door or the property next door. It's on the market now. It can be yours for $12.38 million if you got that lying around. You can buy the property right next door on Matthews, and it needs a little bit of work. It's a fixer-upper or maybe a knocker-downer. It is a fine example of mid-1970s faux Roman architecture. The garden isn't very well kept, and there is a vehicle in the front yard, a Toyota Corolla. It does have a mailbox. You won't see the for sale sign out there. You'll have to search online or just go to my store in thebreaker.news to find out more about the realtor who is offering it for sale. This isn't the first time it's been offered for sale. It's been on the market before, but someone named Jing Zhao, who is listed on the deed as a homemaker, is the person that is offering it for sale. Don't know much about Jing Zhao, but that's the other part of what the NDP government is going to be doing, is opening up a beneficial ownership registry that will tell us who really owns real estate. No more of these nominees, and they say no more students and homemakers, except for legitimate students and homemakers who actually really own things. But no more of this nominee situation where anyone can basically put their name on real estate, because it's harder to get a library card here in British Columbia because you got to show ID than it is to register real estate for a company. And the NDP is going to be changing that as part of their crackdowns on money laundering as well as tax evasion. So we don't know who Jing Zhao is, but if I find out who, and if Jing is available for an interview, I'd love to find out more about this house and how Jing Zhao became listed on the deed of this house, because this transaction happened back in May 2016, early May 2016 to be exact. That was the same month, later in the month actually, when Liu Xiaozhang bought the house next door. Liu Xiaozhang is the husband of Meng Wanzhou. You won't find Meng Wanzhou's name on the deed either. You'll only find the name of Liu Xiaozhang, who also goes by the English name Carlos. So there's some questions about whether when Meng Wanzhou bought her house in Shaughnessy in 2016 and also the one in Dunbar in 2009, why her husband's name is on that and not her name. Maybe we'll find out in the months to come as we get closer to the extradition hearing, if the extradition hearing does happen. Her lawyers are trying to make it not happen. So there you go. You could be the neighbor, but you'd be buying a large property next door that needs a little bit of work. You can always if you don't have more than $12 million, you can bring a tent and camp in the front yard. Invite your friends to come and camp in the front yard, bring the barbecues, have a fun time. Living next door to Meng Wanzhou. At the end of the block is also another place. If you do buy in that block, maybe you can go knock on the doors of other neighbors, introduce yourself. You might want to introduce yourself to the neighbor that's just one house in from Granville on Matthews. That's the United States Consulate. They have a 4th of July party every year. If you're a neighbor and you're kind to them, maybe they'd invite you in for some burgers and beer on 4th of July. Their consul residence, the United States consul residence, is basically I'd say a punt, if not a decently thrown football from a quarterback to a wide receiver. It's very close. Not that you will ever see any neighborly football break out in that block between Meng Wanzhou and the U.S. consul and staff there, but that's just painting the picture of how close it is and how weird this whole situation is. That you've got this, the most famous female telecom executive in the world, arguably the most famous telecom executive in the world, who is living in Vail in Vancouver under curfew conditions, wearing a GPS anklet on her left ankle, and has round-the-clock security watching her, making sure that she doesn't just flee to the airport. She's living on the same block as the local diplomat for the country that wants to take her into custody and try her on fraud charges. That's how close they are. It's just one of the other weird little facts in this whole interesting dispute that we are a witness to here in British Columbia since December 1st, when she was arrested at Vancouver International Airport, and then took 4 or 5 days for this to become public. She's become quite a popular person in the Chinese community, at least the mainland Chinese community. There's a lot of ex-Huawei workers here in Vancouver and in other parts of BC. And she actually wrote an open letter, a company memo, thanking everyone for all the support and all those current and former Huawei employees who are giving her hope and allowing her to enjoy her time here in British Columbia, even though she is living on bail conditions. The same can't be said for the two Michaels, the two Canadians who are jailed in China as retaliation for this arrest. Michael Spavor, the businessman, and Michael Kovrig, the diplomat, who haven't seen lawyers, haven't seen their family, and the conditions that have been reported that they're living under are a lot different from Meng Wanzhou, who enjoys, watching the sunset, sunrise, and enjoys green grass, enjoys getting out of the house. The two Michaels over in China are living a life of incarceration, interrogation. They're not allowed to turn off the lights at night, and not allowed to go outside and enjoy the sunshine during the daytime. Not that sunshine in China is always brilliant, because sometimes it's blocked by smog. So there you have it. This dispute is continuing before our eyes. Meanwhile, right next door, the trade talks are ongoing between the Trump administration and Xi Jinping and his people.
Well, Huawei continually claims that they're not a branch of the Chinese government. They're an independent company. Yet why would the Chinese government ban Canadian pork and canola shipments, put our citizens in jail if they weren't connected to the government?
Well, telecom companies that are connected to China Incorporated will say the darndest things sometimes. They can say what they want, but there's enough intelligence reports out there and dissidents around the world who don't believe that. Their latest is they told the United Kingdom government that they'll sign a no spying agreement, that if they are able to sell their 5G wares in the United Kingdom, that they'll sign a contract that says, no, we will not spy. We'll just provide you our goods and equipment and service, which was greeted by some with laughter. The devil's in the details of that. I mean, who would arbitrate it? Who would be overseeing the compliance and enforcement? And what happens if, oh no, someone was caught spying? Would that contract be torn up? I mean, it just seems to be part of their major lobbying push, major public relations push. Hill & Knowlton is a PR company in Canada that is working with Huawei. Hill & Knowlton's affiliates around the world in different markets also work with Huawei, advising the company and representing it as well. I just don't think that that's believable, especially when, they can say all they want that they're not an arm of the Chinese government, but any Chinese company, there's a federal law that says that they have to have what is essentially a cell of the Communist Party inside the company. And there's serious concerns being expressed in these trade talks in the United States, being expressed by intelligence authorities around the world about intellectual property theft by China, and also forced transfer of technology, that if you want to do business with China, you've got to do a joint venture, and you've got to show the Chinese company you do the joint venture with exactly who you are and the secret sauce to whatever your product is. So, Huawei right now is in a major advertising campaign. They're a major sponsor of Hockey Night in Canada, the Stanley Cup playoffs. And in Vancouver, you are treated to a bombardment of their advertising, whether it be on billboards, whether it be on the web, or whether it be on TV, not just during Hockey Night in Canada broadcasts. It's everywhere. You're not seeing much in the way of Apple iPhone ads these days, or Samsung ads. You're seeing a lot for Huawei. They're spending a lot of money. It'd be interesting to know how much they're spending, but again, it's part of their whole holistic approach to this international geopolitical battle. It's not just about the phones. It's about it's about China's biggest brand. This is China's biggest business export. 188,000 employees around the world, and well over 100 countries. This is in Chinese culture, you've got to maintain face. You don't want to lose face. And this company really is the face of China. And if it can't succeed like it wants to and compete with the Apples and the Samsungs, then the Chinese are going to lose face. This would be a major embarrassment if they have to take steps backward with this company.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after this.
Cypress Development Corp's flagship lithium project is located just east of Albemarle's Silver Peak mine in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. A 12-hole exploration drill program for lithium-enriched claystone on Cypress's 100% controlled properties is now underway. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the pink CYDVF, and on Frankfurt C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, did the BC Liberals do some dirty deeds and deal with dirty money back in 2015?
Well, yeah, this is a story that I've written on a different angle. In January 2015, Mike DeYoung, who was finance minister at the time, he was also in charge of gambling regulation at the time. His supporters decided to throw a party for him. They had a celebrity political roast at the River Rock Casino's dinner theater in Richmond in mid-January 2015. I reported that during the leadership race when Mike DeYoung wanted to become the leader of the BC Liberals last year. It was quite a fascinating and maybe a bit of a tawdry event, too, because you had the Premier, Christy Clark at the time. You had a couple of members of the press gallery there. You had Mike Farnworth, the NDP House leader. They all went there and in good spirits to help raise money for the Abbotsford Hospice Society. The Hospice Society told me that they raised about $5,000 from that night. River Rock's owner, Great Canadian, allowed them to have the venue for free, but charged them commercial rates for food and beverage. But it was unusual because Mike DeYoung was celebrating 28 years in the legislature as a member of the legislature for ridings in Abbotsford. And he was a long way from Abbotsford. This was nowhere near his riding. This was in a casino, a property that he regulated because he was Minister of Finance with responsibility for BC Lottery Corporation, responsibility for gaming policy enforcement branch. Here he was, the star for a night, his name on the marquee, at a casino. It just didn't look right. And Dermot Travis from Integrity BC talked about it to me in that original story. The news hook this week is that just before we find out that the NDP greenlights a money laundering public inquiry, is what was going on at River Rock the day before, the day of, and the next day in January 2015 when Mike DeYoung had his roast at River Rock. What was going on there, and I got some of the reports out of Gaming Policy Enforcement Branch via Freedom of Information. It showed some puzzling situations. There's one report that shows that someone had $3,020 bills, $60,000, and was going to buy in so they could gamble. $20 bills are widely accepted as the currency of money launderers, accepted not by those who want to accept them or should accept them, but accepted by experts. People like Peter German call the $20 bills the standard currency of money launderers. There was an assault there on a security guard by someone who apparently was told not to drink and drive. There was another case of someone with $10,000 in casino chips, passing them to some other gambler. And there were various people that were found inside the casino that were not allowed to be inside the casino because of BC Lottery Corporation prohibitions against their attendance to a casino. So that was the picture. It was trying to paint the picture of what was going on right next door, because the River Rock Show Theater is not actually in the casino part per se. It's very close. It's a very short walk from the entrance to the casino to the entrance of the theater itself and the VIP rooms and the hotel. But at the height of the money laundering epidemic here in BC, really was a few months later than that, July 2015, when River Rock had $13.5 million of $20 bills. Just this tidal wave of $20 bills, but start the year, they had that special night for Mike DeYoung to celebrate a couple of decades in the legislature. You can bet that Mike DeYoung, if not Mike DeYoung, then Mike DeYoung's documents will somehow end up in the possession of Justice Austin Cullen in this money laundering public inquiry.
Bob, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Great, thank you.
My guest has been award-winning investigative reporter Bob Mackin, publisher of thebreaker.news. If you have any questions for Bob or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.